Congratulations to Scotland. Finn Russell has just kicked the ball off the pitch. Jubilant Scots, both on and off the pitch. Thoroughly deserves to win the Calcutta Cup. That cannot be argued in any way, shape, or form. Amazing ruthlessness by the Scots. Pretty woeful display by England. Errors, penalties. But Scotland absolutely worthy victors. As always, guys, we will be kicking off the analysis at the 4-minute mark. So go and grab yourself a drink or fast forward to that. If you're watching on the replay, I started this one halfway through the second half when I realised the game really was not ever going to be coming back. So, cheers. And get in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. And what are you drinking? And also in the comments, let me know what you think about this game. Scott's looking absolutely jubilant there. What a way to bounce back after last week against Italy. Any key talking points in this game that you want me to cover, let me know. It was fun. I mean, I quite like the opening bits of this game before kickoff, where you can see all the cans of what was it? All the cans of talents on the hoardings. I could tell you were definitely looking at Murrayfield there. Later kickoff, supporters would have been well oiled, that's for sure. Seeing Sione Tuipulotu there, I think he probably had his best game. I think, since before he got injured for the Lions, certainly before the Lions, I should say, certainly that I've seen anyway. Really big involvements for Tuipulotu today. Also on the screen, Henry Arundel. What a mixed bag for him. 2 yellow cards and a try. Crazy times. Anyway, thank you for coming in here and joining me. Can you give the video a thumbs up as well, if you don't mind now, because it shows it to more people then, and more people can come and get involved, and we'll have more fun in the comments section. And if you know a proper rugby mate, somebody else who might enjoy this, hit the share button and share it as well. That'd be very helpful. As always, we're kicking off at the 4-minute mark, so just one more minute until we get going, talking about the game in detail. There is quite a lot of detail to this, actually. I mean, the general themes are very obvious, but there's quite a bit of detail in amongst it. Carstein, looking at him now, player of the match. Very happy Carstein, and yeah, I think deservedly so, don't you? I think I would have given it to him as well. He was superb in the air in particular. Some great runs as well, great offloads leading to, I can't quite remember, one of the first two. And they went up the right-hand side. Anyway, we'll get going in a second. Let's have your comments. Let's have your thoughts. Let's have who you thought played well or the opposite, certainly some England players who didn't have their best day today, it's fair to say. So yes, let's get into this game. England in the circle, Itoje laying down the law. What a familiar story, hey folks. Didn't it feel like we've seen this all before? England go up to Murrayfield, talk about things, all the breaks in the game that you try and engineer to go for yourself. Virtually none of that went for England. They did it, and fair play. They were absolutely ruthless. When they had the ball, they just looked like they were going to score. They were so efficient. England got off to a half-decent start right at the very beginning. They had a good line-up drive, lovely kick, and they won the ball was knocked down towards the English side, and that's where you expect to see one of the back rowers charging through, pick the ball up, and then England score. But it didn't do that. It went to Tuipulotu instead, way back up towards England. He kicked through and ended up with Mitchell clearing to sort of line up just on the 22, really hurriedly clearing. Mitchell needs a haircut as well, by the way. I mean, that's the longest I've ever seen his hair today. And yeah, so Scotland went for that. And to be honest, in that moment, they didn't let their finger, just pause for a second as Sioni's lifting the Calcutta Cup. I've held that trophy. I think the time when I held it, I was the last Englishman to hold it for maybe 3 or 4 years, possibly. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, from that moment, when England did have a reasonable start the first minute, Scotland just never took their foot off the throat. They drove and went multi-phase and just were physical. They got the penalty to get them 3-0 in front. England got up in front, but knocked on the resulting kickoff. Again, all these little breaks in play where you hope to win. You're never going to win them all, but you hope to win like the majority, your fair share at least. England got almost none of those today, And I wrote down in my notes here, like England must just stay on task. Like they were getting nothing at the start of the game, so they just pay attention, just stay calm. The game will come to them if they keep doing what they need to do. And then just basics for England in terms of just making your tackles. And England lost, just fell off so many tackles. I mean, it's their stat further on through, and it's startling, really, the amount of tackles that England missed. But Scotland played great. They went up the right-hand side. There was offloads, and this was the one I was talking about with Carl Staley. Did a really good run up the right-hand side. And this led to the Aaron Noel penalty and yellow card. Now, always sympathy for the referee. Their angle is different to the one we see on the TV with the cameras and all that kind of stuff. But it did look a little bit harsh. It did look like he made the tackle, released, and got back on his feet, albeit charges were very fine. So no blame to the referee, but it did look like it was possibly a little bit harsh, that one. And then England numbered up on the blind side. Tom Roebuck jumps out of the line to try and shut down Finn Russell. He slaps the ball onto Hugh Jones. He runs easily past the Toji to the corner for 10-0. And again, just a couple of things there, like just stay collected in defence. There was no need to jump out of the line on that. They were numbered up. It was a very strange decision. Nowhere near Russell, really. England did eventually win some scraps from a kick. And then they immediately got the ball on the floor again, and I've written down nothing going right, absolutely nothing going right. And then immediately as I was typing that, the TMO came in, a no arms tackle from Luke Cowan-Dickey. Now these are debatable. I think everybody will have a view. He definitely had an arm up. Whether that's an attempt to wrap is absolutely up for debate. There's no question he dives at knees, Luke Cowan-Dickey, and there is a certain danger to that. So very much, I would prefer to see those tackles like that not in the game. So I think rightly so a penalty, even though Cowan-Dickey did have an arm up. Scotland were looking absolutely live wire. They tore through the English midfield. Tommy Freeman bit so badly that another England player ran into him going the other way. Back left, England completely sucked in. Tom Roebuck got the way to defend that break on the far side. So when it came back the other way, Philly to a Piloto had all the time in the world to throw a massive pass to one of England's massive nemesis, Jamie Ritchie, for the try and 17-0 after 14 minutes. Scotland absolutely flying, Murrayfield bouncing, and the Scots deserved it, absolutely deserved it. They were so efficient, so clinical with the chances that they got. It was fantastic. Shortly afterwards, I thought for a second, I was like, right, England need an in here. They need something to happen for them in the game, or to engineer it themselves. And Jamie Ritchie actually was the person that gave it to England, as he shepherded a play, and this was quite an obvious one actually. Some of these are dubious, but this one was very obvious. England looked like they had the yips. The ball went through George Ford's hands from a good attacking position. Freddie Stewart got held up, great play by the Scots. And England were just looking blunt. They were running one man out, and Scotland were just making their tackles. I think Scott Cummins made a ton of tackles today. And yeah, they were struggling. England did get a scrum pen shortly afterwards, and that was the thing that I thought might get England back into this game, because they did look dominant in the scrum for the most part. Once there was a contest, once that was allowed to happen, then they did look dominant, but didn't really get enough of them, and that died away as well, that advantage towards the end of the game as well. Scotland were fast and accurate. England were full of errors. That was the story in the first 20 minutes. Okay, let's have a look at some of the comments. We've got loads of comments coming in here. What have we got here? Dunk says, Mitchell and Ford guilty of kicking the game away. Well, I know what you're saying. Like towards the end of the game, in particular, we still continue to kick, but I think that's the tactic. That's how England play. They like to kick to get the ball back. Unfortunately, and we'll go on to this, they got almost nothing from kicks or receipts today. They won almost nothing back, and the ones they did win back, they then knocked on. So that tactic wasn't working. So I can understand maybe you think change it, but the other side of it is thinking, well, we've had nothing so far. Surely our luck must change. I'm not sure. What else have we got here? Alex from Glasgow having a Glenfiddich 15-year-old celebration. Congratulations, Alex. Enjoy that. Yeah, absolutely. I read this comment before I said that, but that's basically what I replied to your one, didn't I? Lost aerial contest comprehensively today in England. Absolutely comprehensive. One heck of a team performance from Scotland with some superb individual displays too. Absolutely, 100%. Loads of stuff talking about Scotland here. Full credit to Scotland, took all their chances to 100%. Look at this one up as well. I think English boys believe in their own hype, Tim. I don't think so. I don't think there's any hype around this England team. I think most people are talking very honestly about how they've performed, how they've progressed over the years, but there's still, or the last year in particular, but there's still a long way to go. I think just a lot of things went wrong in the game today. I think there was all the endeavour, all the effort, just made quite a few errors and Scotland were ruthless. It can happen in sport. I don't think there's any hype believing at all. Not even a tiny bit. What we got here? One in Scotland, it amazes me how they always play brilliantly against England, but yet can be ordinary against everybody else. Well, not everybody else, but they definitely always, or almost always, play brilliantly against Scotland. Certainly in the last 8-9 years or something in the Townsend reign, that's definitely the case. I mean, they probably should have won at Twickenham as well last year, which is one of the few games they've lost in recent years against it. There we go. Okay, into the second 20 minutes, and England tried to catch and drive. They got just short. They maintained possession. They maintained forward momentum, and George Ford, beautiful bit of delay, and Arundel did really well actually to track his feet and not overrun the pass. He zipped through right next to the sticks, converted for 17-7, and that gave me hope. It made me feel like, okay, if we can just control the ball a little bit, then England have got a chance in this game, because it was a well-earned, well-worked score, but it showed they could do it. So that was encouraging. Ollie Chesson made an incredible intercept from Ben White shortly afterwards as they went back down the blind side. But England couldn't find any shade from that. That's when you're just like, right, okay, we've got this incredible turnover advantage. Get yourself organised as quickly as you can. And England just didn't react quick enough. They ended up kicking the ball away, but Richard was penalised for offside. Kicked by England for 17-10. And now I'm thinking, right, we're building back into the game now. Just keep doing the right things. Keep doing the basics right. Keep getting the fundamentals correct. But England was so disconnected in defence. People over chasing from the inside, running up, all over the place as far as I'm concerned. There were missed tackles, and Finn Russell skipped out of a couple. One from Guy Patton, one from Sam Underhill, two people you'd never expect to miss any tackles ever. He nipped blind, did a brilliant job. When he came down a blind alley, kicked through. It left Ellis Gaines was the only person chasing back. Fair play to him for working hard. It was a horrible bouncing ball. I don't think any blame to him at all. That was a nasty situation, but it led to Ben White scooping that up and scoring another try against England, 24-10 after 27 minutes. So after building back into the game, they just needed to stay in it. They just needed to not give anything daft away. And missed tackles, people out of position, and it's 24-10. But again, fair play to the Scots. They nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. They took their chance when it was there, and they nailed it. At this stage in the game, England have missed 17 tackles. 17. That is a ridiculous number. Absolutely ridiculous. And it was a lot. Well, not a lot, but I certainly noticed England's back rowers missing plenty of them. I've mentioned Pepper and Underhill already. Ben Earl missed a few as well. I haven't got the official stats, but those are just some of the ones I've noticed. England's scrum was still delivering. They got a scrum penalty, kicked it to the corner, but they failed. The maul failed. Scotland defended it fantastically well, which led to a knock on by Luke Cowan-Dickey. Scotland wildly ran the ball out from under their own sticks at that point to get the ball to a more advantageous place to kick from. And I love that ambition from Scotland. It wasn't ambition to play to score. It was ambition to get to a more advantageous position. And they nailed it and got the ball clear. And it was from that position that England kicked another up and under for the back three to chase. Henry Arundel just lost the fight. I think he was trying to do the right thing. So you see from the angle from behind Kyle Steyn, Arundel's looking at the ball, and then he for just a brief second looks where Steyn is and tries to look back up again, and he's already run underneath it. Takes Steyn out in the air. In fact, often in these cases, Arundel was by far the worst off because he caught Steyn somewhere in the chest and neck. Rightly yellow carded. 2 yellow cards by the current laws equals a 20-minute red card. Excuse me. I think there should be some debate about whether that makes sense or not. I think maybe a 20-minute red card is a reasonable option. If it was a straight red card for the rest of the game, that's definitely not right. Maybe a 20-minute red is the right sort of balance. I'm not sure. But essentially, two technical yellow cards for Arundel. Yeah, really unfortunate for him. Like I said, I'm sure there was no, he certainly wasn't deliberately trying to take him out, but it is his responsibility not to do that. So, yeah, fair call, absolutely fair call. Scotland wildly efficient in the first half, brilliant at finding space, amazing in the air, brilliant in the air, and here's another thing, they spoiled England's line-out quality. England did win most of their line-outs, but the ball that was coming was terrible quality. Mitchell had to take one in, the ball bounced on another one. England couldn't launch off any of those lineouts. That's another reason they couldn't get a foothold in the game. Excellent by the Scots. And for England's part, it was just a huge number of errors. They could hardly win an aerial duel, all over the place in defence, 2 yellow cards. The only thing that was going well was a scrum at half time. Tom Curry came on for Sam Underhill, and Matt Fagerson came on for Jamie Ritchie, who got injured. And it looks like maybe a bad one. He was seeing crutches in the second half. Best wishes to him. Getting fit. Fagerson had a good game when it came on. Physical and plenty of nice interventions, which we'll get to later. Okay. Yeah, okay. Into the second half. And again, the only thing that was really going right for him continued. Scrum penalty, and Fagerson warned by Amashu Kelly that if he was penalised again in the scrum, then it would be a yellow card. Ford kicked that one for 24-13, and England had real dominance during this period. They were in the Scots 22 a lot, but they just couldn't either find a way through or find enough momentum for long enough. So they quite often played a lot of phases, and you could just see them kind of running out of steam. It's like the video game, and their power level was just dropping down. And it was worrying, especially on the 47th minute when they were doing that actually from within their own territory, around their own 10-metre line. And it looked like they were going to get turned over. In fact, I was certain they were going to get turned over. But I think there was a really, really cute bit of play by Tommy Freeman. And when I say cute bit of play, I mean he carried the ball up and there was very little support. And I think it was Soyoni Tuipulotu who made the tackle. I think you can just see Freeman grabs his shirt and holds him sort of on top of him in the tackle. That's unconfirmed. I'm not certain of that, but it seemed a little bit strange that Tuipulotu really didn't move at all. England got that penalty, and I just blew a huge. I went for you basically in relief because that looked like they were going to get turned over there. It really did. England kicked that one up the pitch and smashed forward. Ellis Genge took one of those short balls and it was given as a knock on. It looked like it was maybe ripped out. Again, very hard to judge for the referee, but these tight calls, they can go either way. It was a brilliant George Turner for the Scots, but Xander Fagerson knocked it on immediately. So I'm starting to get a little bit, things are changing here. Like that's one thing that was good for the Scots, which immediately got wiped out. Felt like maybe that could be a momentum thing. But it did not play out that way. As I mentioned earlier, England were playing a lot of phases, but they could not pierce this Scottish defence. Even though they were getting good game line at times, Scotland were just so resilient. England were losing shape. Ford went for the drop goal, which I think was the right choice, by the way. I think it was a good choice to go for the drop goal. Maybe the timing could have been better. Maybe Ford could have been deeper. But I'm certainly not going to be the one to criticise George Ford's drop goals because he's obviously been brilliant at that for England. But he did look like he was quite close to Mitchell, and England weren't going forward on that ruck either, which makes it easier for somebody, I don't know, like Matt Fagerson to get through, charge it down, regather, and give it to Hugh Jones, length of the field try, and 31. And I think it was then that I cracked it, because that really, it was a very long way back for England after that. A long, long, long way back. England continued to play a lot of phases. They did have the ball for a lot of this period of the game, early second half, for the first 20 minutes, even though they were down to 14 players for all this time, but they just kept getting repelled by the Scots. And at the breakdown as well, Rory Darge won turnovers and other people did as well. Yeah, Scots was just so resilient during this phase. The England bench came on, four of the forwards, Bevan Rodford, Genge, and I suspect there was an element of getting Genge away from the referee with that substitution at that time. And Mr. Kelly had said to Itoje, all communications have got to come through you now. And then there was some chat with Genge after that. I think he was on the wrong side of it at some point today. So Rod came on, and unfortunately that did weaken the England scrum. We did win a few more penalties after that, but it looked very much like the Scots were in that battle after Bevan Rod and Jamie George came on. Itoje went off as well for Coles, which was, yeah, I mean, that almost never happens, right? Almost never. I'm just trying to work out whether I think it was the right call. It's certainly the reason why Jamie George was on the bench, to be able to bring that leadership late in the game. Whether it was always going to be in place of Itoje, I'm not sure. Who knows? But Henry Pollock came on at the same time, and England was still really industrious. They were still really trying to play, but they looked hassled. They looked unaccomplished at times. They looked like their running lines and their timing was rarely quite correct. And that played into the Scots and their awesome defence today. Mitchell knocked on when England were threatening under the sticks again. Was this a knock on? Was it ripped out? These things are so tight. Sometimes it's a bit of both, and you've always got to just back the referee to see what he sees. Scotland cleared, but England attacked again. Scotland won the turnover, England's very first carry. And this is an example of England's losing their shape. Finn Smith was on by this stage as well, playing at inside centre. And to lose a turnover at the first ruck from a line out is just poor detail. That should never happen. Like, everybody should know their roles. And even if the Scots are brilliant in everything they do, like, England players should know, they should have that advantage of knowing where they're going to be going. So brilliant by the Scots, but again, England in discipline in terms of the detail in their game. Carl Steyn, player of the match, Carl Steyn, won another up and under down the right-hand side. NL got pushed into touch when he tried to clear up a loose ball. And at this point, 65 minutes, Scotland really took momentum. They started driving, and when they had the ball in hand, they looked very dangerous. They looked like they were going to get over the line, driving hard. They won a penalty and just continued to batter away at England. And to be honest, I was a bit surprised that they didn't get over. Eventually, they got penalised and feeling off. It was blessed relief, and it felt like maybe, just maybe, England was still in it. If Scotland had scored then, that would have definitely been the game. But sometimes a momentum change like that can really, give fillip to the team that's behind. But England knocked on another ball from an aerial knockdown. This one was Henry Pollock. Do you remember the try scored against Australia? It was a very similar situation. This time he couldn't gather it, so it was almost dead by that point, and it was definitely dead in the 70th minute when Scotland won a scrum penalty. I've written in my notes that's game over. because it really was like if England didn't even have a scrum, which was one of the only things that went well for them in the day, then what were they going to get? Freddie Stewart did get away down the right-hand side from a cross kick by George Ford late in the game. Hugh Jones did a brilliant job at blocking off the inside pass to Tom Roebuck. So Stewart had really, I don't think, any option apart from trying to go for it himself. And Darcy Graham, epitomised all of the Scottish effort by chopping down Stewart and knocking him into touch. Earl was held up from a following scrum. He got over the line but was held up. Eventually, England did get the consolation, and by the 78th minute, it definitely was a consolation. After England had gone coast to coast, he caught the big wide pass. There was a potential forward pass in the build-up down the right-hand side. England tried to run from deep, and this kind of epitomised the whole game from England, really. They run from deep, and if there was still a chance, actually. There was still a chance if they'd scored a converted try, or any try, actually, within 90 seconds, which is the time they had left, then they would have got one more play. And then they would have had a chance to win the game. And you only need one chance, a chip and a chair. That's all you need. But England tried to run from deep and actually created a little bit of space on the right-hand side. But Tom Roebuck just dropped a pass stone dead that was right in front of his chest. And that was the game done. There was some more bits and pieces. Scotland tried to score again, but eventually Russell kicked the ball out for another famous Calcutta Cup victory. And yeah, thoroughly deserved. They took their chances when they had them. They were so resolute on defence, forced a load of errors from England, and 31-13 is a big scoreline, and maybe 31-20 in the end. Actually, maybe that's right. 31-13 would have felt really harsh, I think, but maybe 31-20 is not completely unreasonable. Okay, let's go back to the comments section. Let's see what we got. Dunk's in here again. What are you saying, Dunk? Contrast between backlines stark. 9-15 Scots outplayed their counterparts by some margin. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I'm just trying to think if any English players, I would have picked any English players in a combined team in the backs. No, nobody. Nobody at all. I think the only one maybe that would contend, and he did have some errors, but I thought he was one of England's better players for the majority, was Freddie Stewart. I thought he seemed like calm and composed for a lot of the game when others seemed to be losing their heads. But I probably still wouldn't pick him in a combined team. What have we got here? Here we go. What am I calling you? Puka? Hello, Puka. Two big moments that went against England. Genge losing control of the ball. Yeah, that was a big one. But England did have a few like that, to be fair. There was quite a number of those. And Ford's drop goal being blocked down, that was massive. That was such a huge moment. England had been in control of the game in the second half. Up to that point, they really had. They were pushing, and I would have absolutely taken the drop goal, or if they played a bit more and won a penalty, I'd have been happy with that, especially down to 14 players in that time. But that was a massive moment in the game, no question. What else have we got? Elko chirping up. Here we go. Could be worse. Yeah. Congratulations, Ireland. Elko, well done. Here we go. Okay, so what else have we got here? Yeah, this is an interesting one. Got to do more than kick it in the air. If plan A doesn't work, try plan A. Yeah, understand what you're saying. And I do get some frustration about this as well, because England got almost nothing from the aerial game today. I think they maybe won one, but it didn't lead to anything. It's not like they got a massive advantage from it or anything like that. But at the same time, they weren't really achieving anything with ball in hand in any great shakes either. It's a tough one. I know the players will keep giving the stats all week. If we kick from here and we get that, we got more chance of scoring from here or that. But that kind of statistical basis of a game plan makes me feel a bit icky, to be honest. I think they need to have more ownership of the game when they're out there a little bit. I'm 50-50 on that one. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, to be honest. Scrum was a bum fight, not reffed. Well, it was reffed, let's be honest. They've just replayed Genge's miss for the Scotland try. Yeah, I mean, he was in a tough spot there fair play to him for being the one working back to be in the position to make that error, is what I would say. It was a nasty bouncing ball. That is a skill that he'll have done very rarely in his career in a tough situation. I feel for him. I think there's lots of players who would have made the same mistake. That certainly wasn't the reason England lost, although it was another dagger in the heart after they sort of worked themselves back to 17-10. Okay, there we go. We'll bring this to a close now. I am speaking with Mr. Mike Friday in about half an hour. So we'll have the match report with you later tonight, where we'll be talking. Actually, I'm going to ask Mike about that. The if Plan A doesn't work, try Plan A. See what he thinks about that. I'm sure he'll have an opinion, no question. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope. Well, I tell you what, this weekend of Six Nations Rugby has already been better than last weekend's of Six Nations Rugby, so I'm very happy about that. Two really good games today. This was a really good contest. The score, Scotland dominated on the scoreboard and won convincingly in the end, but it was a good contest throughout, so that was good to see. So there'll be a match report later. I'm speaking to Elko in the morning to do the Ireland one, and then we've got Wales versus France tomorrow afternoon. Who's going to be watching that one? Me, I am, and I'll be here doing a post-match live afterwards. And I hope to be talking about a really resurgent Wales who've put their best foot forward and been the best they can be on the day. If that results in, I mean, I can't imagine it resulting in a win, but if that results in the game being competitive for a decent amount of time, then I'll be very, very happy. Big up the Welsh, and I hope the French bring their best game as well. As I say, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you can give the video a thumbs up before you leave, it'll help other people find it later on. Write some more comments as well. That helps too. Give it a share. Share it to somebody. There's a share button somewhere. Give that a click and share it with somebody as well. That would be awesome. Thank you once again, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. I'm going to be drinking more Perinscos. Peace.